In this video, I will be focusing on the barbarian invasions in Rome and how the Romans dealt with them. I want to start off by describing the divide of Rome into Eastern and Western empires. This divide happened early on when the emperor divided the empire into two halves. The eastern and western portions you see on the map stayed fairly equal until the Western Empire started to experience problems. One of the problems they experienced were the invasions of barbarians across the border. Basically, anyone that was not a part of the empire was considered a barbarian to the Romans. This slide displays a picture of the Roman army fighting off barbarians. There were a few major barbarian tribes that did not like the Romans, and this caused frequent invasions into the Roman territory. The next picture here is a map of the Western Roman Empire, showing the different invasion routes the barbarians took. As you can see, there were many threats on the outskirts of their borders. This is a big part of the reason the Western Empire struggled so much. The Roman military had to be strong and protect themselves as much as possible from these invaders. This picture is what a typical person in the Roman military would be wearing. They had a hard shield and hat for protection, and sometimes even more armor on other parts of their body. The sword or javelin was for killing invaders from the other tribes. The Roman military had to form tactics and be smart about how they defended themselves. This led to the use of the grand strategy. The grand strategy is defined as a state's allocation of resources among various military and policy goals and is inextricably intertwined with politics, diplomacy, economics, and questions of peace and war. This flowchart shows how all of these things go hand in hand. The military used the tactics of the grand strategy, however, they were not always the most effective. Most of these tactics included defensive strategies, which were ways to protect themselves from invaders. A big form of protection was the Roman military, however, this would not completely protect the empire from the barbarians. The solution to this was to use forts along the frontier as protection as well. An example of one of these forts is one named Qasr Bashir, which is shown on this slide. It is one of the best preserved forts in the Roman Empire, and it is along a road called the Via Nova Traiana. Next to it, a fort named El Lehun was built. This fortress was designed to accommodate between 1,000 and 1,500 men. The reason this fort was built is because the emperor, Diocletian, began establishing more defense, which included forts, fortified towns, and watchtowers. Here on the next slide shows the long road called the Via Nova Traiana that functioned in linking cities, towns, and military forts along its 267-mile length. You can see a few of the Roman military forts along this road as well. Qasr Bashir and El Lehun housed many soldiers and served as good defense for the empire. However, not quite good enough. A combination of barbarian invasions and many other breakdowns eventually led to the fall of the Western Roman Empire.